Says they are stolen. If you knew that elections are stolen, why don't you also plan to also steal? Everybody has got their dogs in politics. I'm telling you this today.
This is the Free Talk. Zimbabwe recently introduced a new currency, the Zimbabwe gold. The opposition appears to be in sixes and sevens. Where is our country headed to? This time where social media and the people of Zimbabwe are not so sure what to look forward to, as the country is already inching towards the 2028 general elections. Now, here on this, the Free Talk, in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom and Heart and Soul TV and Radio, I, your host as usual, Dara B, brings you the answers to the questions that troubled you. So on this episode of the Free Talk, we talk to the famous or infamous Harare man, Jealous Mawarire, to get insights into our politics. Join me after this break for answers. Welcome back to the Free Talk in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom, a platform for conversation, a platform for answering the questions that we all want answered. Now, this is the hot seat. This is the Free Talk. This is me, Dara B, and I'm in studio and in conversation with Jealous Mawarire, former journalist, a politician, and now political analyst, and hopefully still a politician. Now, welcome and thank you very much for joining me, Jealous. But just to start with, Jealous, let's just talk about your perspective and view of the current political situation in our country.
Thank you. Maybe first of all, I would like to correct a few things about that you said about me. I'm not a Harare man. I am rather a Zimbabwe man. I'm not limited to Harare. I was born in Gweru, at Gweru General Hospital. I grew up in Masvingo. I went to school in Chirezi in Masvingo. And I went to the University of Zimbabwe here in Harare, and I'm residing in Harare. So I'm actually a Zimbabwean. I'm not limited to the space that is called Harare.
You famously referred to in your class action that saw us going into elections in 2013. You famously referred to as a Harare man. What brought about that infamous or famous reference?
I don't even know, because I wasn't even a registered voter in Harare. I'm a registered voter in Zaka. So I brought that court action as a registered voter who was registered at Zimbabwe Primary School in Zaka. So I don't know why you guys chose to call me a Harare man.
Amazing.
That's why I sought to correct that I'm a Zimbabwean.
Or I should refer to as a Zaka man. But let us talk about the political situation. You have been a major political player, in the Zimbabwe body politic. Many will remember you for that class action that got us out of the inclusive government into an election that saw President the late ousted President Robert Gabriel Mugabe, rekindling his power and hold on state control?
I think when we talk about, if we talk about the Zimbabwe politics, most of the times we're talking about the political players, the MPs, the president. Rather, I would like to talk about the general public, and those are the people that are supposed to be participating in politics, isn't it? When we make the constitution, we are making the constitution in order for our people to freely participate in political activities. And that's my understanding, and that's my understanding of the import of a constitution. So for me, the most important thing, or the most important players, are the people. So I would like to believe that our people have been depoliticized. They've been dislocated from the mainstream political activities solely because of how we came to be where we are. Because now we are defined as people that are living under the Second Republic. And we cannot run away from interrogating how the so-called Second Republic came into being. It came on the backdrop of a military takeover of government. And the military takeover of government precisely means that you have a government by other people for the people. This is a government created by other people for the people. It's not a government of the people by the people. So this is where we are, and these are the results. The results of the violent takeover of state power by the military. But we cannot run away from.
How do you continue justifying this government as a government of a military coup when we have had two successive elections and that have seen people repositing their faith in the presidency of President Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa?
I think basically when you are looking at an election, you are looking at the processes that lead to people freely choosing those that they intend to take over the governance of their country. Did our people in 2018 freely participate in the electoral processes? Did our people in 2023 freely participate in the electoral processes? The answer to me is no. We have political players that were disqualified from participating in electoral processes. Some of them, the example of the exiled former ZANU-PF member, Sevia Kasukuwere, he did not participate. Why? Firstly, because he finds himself outside of the country, outside of the party that he was in. What's the reason? The reason was the military takeover. So if you have an election where other players, key political actors who cannot participate in that context, and they can't participate because someone is saying you cannot be in the space, in the jurisdiction called Zimbabwe, because if you come here, we will turn guns on you. So this is the environment that characterize our political participation from November 15, 2017 up to now. We have had, actually, recently, there are statements being said, Pasinaningi, and on the backdrop of a violent takeover of political power, that is very scary. It's something that actually demobilizes people. It doesn't create a conducive environment for our people to freely participate in political processes in our country, because we are not lost to what happened 8, 7 or so years ago. We know what happened. And we know what differing with those that have access to the Amari means. And that defines our politics. Until we come to terms, we sit down and we allow each other to voice that concern, and we address those fears, we will not build anything sustainable.
But Julius, before this military takeover, you have sided and supported those that have denied Zimbabweans a voice. You sided with Robert Gabriel Mugabe, and he denied many Zimbabweans a voice. In fact, people were disappeared during Robert Gabriel Mugabe's tenure as president of this country. What makes you now turn around and start looking at other people's freedoms when you sided with those that took people's freedoms at that time?
I think that's a wrong observation. Maybe I don't know how you got to that conclusion. If you say I sided with President Mugabe, I don't see where I sided with him. I only made myself available to assist him after the military takeover of government. If you trace my political participation, you will see that I was involved in political parties that were opposing him. And I was opposing solely on the basis that we needed to give some other players a chance. And this is what was informing the grouping that we had with Maim Juru, with Didmas Mtasa, with Rugare Gumbo in 2014, 2015, 2016, when we formed the People First. The People First wasn't a grouping that was supporting President Mugabe. If my memory serves me well, it was a grouping that was opposed to the continuation of the tenure of President Robert Mugabe.
Was it really
in power? Yes, that's what we were opposed to. We were saying we wanted democratic processes within ZANU-PF to lead to a succession, and some of us supported Mamjul, and rightly so, and we are not ashamed that we supported her. And we wanted a peaceful takeover. We wanted to support Mamjul not to take over from President Robert Mugabe through a military assisted transition. No, we wanted a democratic process within the country, because Mamjul, by the way, had been expelled from ZANU-PF, and we thought we could harness those people that supported her. And we had talks with the late Morgan Richard Changirai to try to build a formidable united opposition to contest in 2018. That was the purpose. And we had actually a lot of engagements. We had a lot of processes that were aimed at actually building a formidable opposition, so that in 2018 we're supposed to contest and have
some argue
opposition.
Some argue, jealous, that the group of people that you're talking about was not really about freedoms of the people. In fact, these were sour losers who had benefited from oppression of people from years in President Robert Gabriel Mugabe, the late, may so rest in peace, government. And now, because they had been chucked out by the then powerful Lacoste in ZANU-PF, they were not for the people or for freedom. They were for power and self-aggrandizement.
I don't subscribe to that school of thought, and I don't actually believe to freeze people in certain historical moments and say this person is like this and cannot transform into something useful. Because, mind you, these are the same people. You're looking at people like Mamjuru. These are people that at a very young age went outside the country, fought for the liberation of this country. You cannot then say, because you opposed them in 1990, in 1999, then all of a sudden you engage in a process of othering, and you say, because they are not part of us, they are not for the people. These are people who participated in the liberation struggle. Your Rugare Gumbos, Darele Chimrenga, isn't it? Maim Juru, your Didmas Mtasa, your John Mvundura, all those were characters that we had. And to see that these are people that believed in what they stood for. They stood against President Mugabe then, and they had reservations on the direction within which ZANU-PF was going. And you cannot then all of a sudden begin to say, because they don't belong to us, they don't belong to our small political grouping, you say they are anti the people. Which people are you talking about? Because I would like to believe, I would like to ask you, who are the people that are saying these were not for the people? They were against the people. Who are they? Are they the so-called opposition political leaders? And are they also for the people? Are they for the people? They are not. You know, the problem that we have, and I thought this might inform even the discussion that we are having. When I said the problem that we have, and I think it was before this show, the problem that we have is the problem of the politics within our people. Not necessarily even the so-called political players, your MPs, your presidents, or what. Our people. What's their perception of politics? What's the end game for them? What is the premium that they put on an electoral office? If someone comes in and says he wants to be a president, what is the premium that the people actually put on that? What are their demands? What is it that they look up to from a leader? For me, that's a very important thing that we have to engage in as a people. Not necessarily to say this one is for the people, that one is against the people, because as far as I see it, no one is for the people. Is what is happening in Triple C for the people? Which people?
Let's have a conversation around that. If no one is for the people, then what should the people do?
That's why I was saying the environment has to be conducive for our people to freely participate in the governance of their country. You know, if you are free to express yourself, you are even free to question your environment. You are saying, this is where I am. I'm hungry. What is causing my hunger? Your definition of the problem is not affected by fear. If my hunger is caused by El Nino, I will say it's caused by El Nino. If it is caused by looting of state resources, I should be able to say that freely without expecting that someone would then, after I say that, would then say, passing away, you know. Because if you can't define your problem, truly define it, you cannot find a solution to it.
But Jealous, you have been outspoken on social media platforms. You are also you have been outspoken on many electoral debates. You have sat opposite people like Christopher Mchangwa and pointed them directly in their face and told them that they are a problem. You're still standing. You have not disappeared. You have not been killed. This is a free country.
You see, the only difference is that when things happen to me, sometimes I don't rush to social media. But I think about 3 weeks ago, I had a post on my Twitter handle where I was saying, although I'm walking through the valley of the shadow of death, but the Lord who is my God is giving me strength and He is seeing me through. What do you think informed that? There are personal threats that I encounter almost every day. There are things that I haven't said. When I organized for President Mugabe to have a press conference on the 30th of, was it on the 29th of July, 2018, before the election on the following day, I had to sleep somewhere far away from my house because I was being tracked. I was being trailed by armed people. I slept somewhere very far away from Harare. And these are things that we encounter on a daily basis. It's only that some of us, we don't rush to social media and say, I'm under threat, because at times I look at my situation and I say, how do I survive this? I know the pitfalls. I know the challenges. That at the time when we had a debate at Avondale, myself, Jacob Mafume, Obey Stole, how did we leave that place? That story has never been told. armed people. They stormed into the venue. And what did they say?
Are you disputing the fact that the
and they were looking for us? No, I'm saying, you were saying, I'm here, I haven't been attacked. And I'm telling you of incidences where I've been attacked. I'm telling you about the incident at the venue in Avondale.
Yeah, the question is,
it was just a simple discussion. But what happened? Immediately after we finished, armed people barged in there. And there was a group of women, because that program was coordinated by the Zimbabwe Council of Churches. And those women saved us. They cried until those armed guys had to walk out. And we had to find our ways to some form of safety. And you say that is a free country. There's no free country where you are not guaranteed freedom after you have expressed yourself. And these are things, I'm not talking about things that I'm just imagining in my head. I'm talking of things that have lived through.
The Second Republic has said it has brought more freedoms than they.
No, but the so-called Second Republic that you are saying is a master in propaganda, in saying things that do not exist. We want to talk about things that we are experiencing, things that we are seeing. Do you mean to say there is freedom? There's freedom when there are people that have been displaced from this country and who cannot participate in the politics of this country, who are in exile. We are talking of where is Mzembe, where is Kasukuwere, where is Jonathan Moyo, where is Joao, and many others. Where are they? Bana Gandawa. Where are they? That is freedom for you. For me, that's hallucination. You are hallucinating over the freedoms that people should have. We have been very kind, especially the media, has been very kind on this Second Republic and letting statements, untrue statements, go unchallenged. There's no freedom in this country. There's no freedom after a military takeover. We know that the judiciary is captured. We know that. We have seen very shocking judgments from the judiciary, including a judgment which says that a military takeover of government is constitutional. Which constitution are you talking about? The same constitution that outlaws the participation of the military in partisan politics in Section 212, Section 213 of the Constitution. It's clear that the military is not supposed to be involved in our politics. But what happened on the 15th of November 2017? A military takeover of government. And what happens? The major casualties in a coup is the judiciary and the media. Because those that have guns take control of those key institutions. Key institutions in terms of dealing with those that oppose you, and key institutions in terms of those that shape the national discourse. So you control the media, you control those that have the responsibility of either taking you to jail or ensuring that you are not in jail. And those key institutions, once they're captured, there's no freedom that you can talk about. If we want to make comparisons, the period when President Mugabe was there, pre-2017. Not saying that he was the most celebrated Democrat, but let's make comparisons. Was Hopewell arrested, detained for a crime that did not actually exist in the statutes, in the law statutes of this country? Nothing like that. Did we have Vana Scala being incarcerated for almost 600 days? Pre-detention, incarceration. And you call those freedoms? Guys, we have to be very serious and we have to be very honest. We have to define the problem that we have. Truly, without fear, without favor. And if we do that, then we will begin then to work towards actually finding a solution to what we have. Unless otherwise our people are afraid, they get some form of freedom from those that are now controlling the political processes, the judiciary, because they hold the gun. There's no way we are going as a country. You cannot talk of economic progression. You cannot talk of social progression in as long as your people are not free.
So you were in the political space, held top positions in the Zim People First, then the NPA, and you failed to dislodge ZANU-PF. Is that a correct assessment?
I don't know ZANU-PF that we failed to dislodge, but we failed to dislodge a political party that was assisted by the military. And I would like to believe that the political playing field is not level as long as there is a political party that has a militarized wing. So you cannot be ashamed.
Are you saying there's no ZANU-PF?
Yeah, there's no ZANU-PF as it should be. A political party that exists in a multi-party democracy, a political party that should be defined by the overarching legislative framework of our country, which is our constitution, which outlaws the participation of the military in politics. Because even what happened, the transition that happened within the so-called ZANU-PF, it was military assisted. It was someone in the army saying, no, you cannot chase away war veterans. You cannot replace President Mugabe with this one. We are coming in with our own person. And you roll tanks into the country. And you say, okay, fine. Under this environment, this is the most conducive environment. Everyone else locked at home. You stay where you are. President Mugabe, stay at Blue Roof. You are safe and sound there. You are not supposed to participate in what we are doing here. Then you say, can you call for a few members? You meet there and you say, we are having a central committee meeting where we are choosing new leaders. And there are tanks all around the country. And you say that's freedom? You say that's democracy? That's not it. Unless we agree, guys, that what happened in 2017 is not the best way of ensuring succession in a democratic dispensation. Look at what has happened in Mozambique. Their meeting, it was supposed to be one day, it went on for 3 days. They came up with a 47-year-old presidential candidate. That's what other countries are doing. But we can't do that ourselves. We have a constitution right now which says a president can go for 2 terms, 2 five-year terms, which is a total of 10 years, isn't it? But no, we are seeing people campaigning 2030. 2030. 2030. 2030 what's that?
The president is denied.
And this is
denied.
No, but his members keep on doing that.
Is it not enough for him to deny?
Minister Mnue is a senior member of the political party, and he's saying 2030. But the constitution outlaws that. So what is it? How does he envision him to be there in 2030?
Maybe alive?
No, but 2030. No, but being alive, can we actually go on campaigning that Dara will be alive in 2030? Who knows? Who even knows that I will be alive tomorrow? Even your sangomas, they don't even know. So we cannot actually have a campaign that is based on predicting that someone will be alive in 2030. Of course, who said he will be dead in 2030? But we are saying, constitutionally, he's not supposed to be president in 2030. So when you are saying he will be there, he will be in power. And mind you, they're not saying in power. How do you become, how do you continue in power after your term has expired? And these are things that you know, they muddy the waters.
Let's talk about, let me take you to Parliament. Do you think that Parliament, as it is composed right now, is useful for democracy in Zimbabwe and the people of Zimbabwe?
It's not useful. It's not only unuseful, but it is also illegal. The current Parliament is illegally constituted.
How so?
Because it doesn't meet the constitutional provisions of Section 17 of the Constitution, for instance, which makes it a prerequisite that we should have at least 50% women in that Parliament. And that is a constitutional provision that we put in ourselves as a people, and we have not have any discussion around how we can achieve that. And we have not have had a discussion on why even this current legislative arm is unconstitutional. It is unconstitutional on the basis of the provisions of Section 70, Section 80, I think, of the Constitution, because it doesn't meet those provisions.
But the
requirement that they should be at least 50%.
But those provisions aren't they contradictory to the first past the post provision that is within the same constitution?
No, the first past the post is not in the constitution.
How do you elect your members of parliament?
No, you by secret ballot. Secret ballot does not mean first past the post, because you can use proportional representation still using secret ballot. And we should actually be sitting here and making discussions that we should have an electoral system that should ensure that the outcome adheres to the provisions in our constitution. That's the discussions that we should have. So
how do you do that? How do you make those provisions that you talk about by successful, without taking away my personal right to be represented by a leader of my choice?
No, but if you use proportional representation, are you saying you are not being led by a leader of your choice?
Yes.
So in the event that your president that you directly elected, in the unfortunate event that he passes on before the end of his term, or he resigns, how do you replace him? According to the current constitution, you go back to the political party. You assume, that's where the disconnection for me is, because we have a system that assumes that the president is directly elected by the people, isn't it? But when that president that we purport to have been directly elected by the people, if he passes on or he resigns, he is replaced by someone who is not directly elected by the people. Actually, the assumption then becomes, when you die or when you resign, the people in the first place did not elect you. They elected your party. That's why your party then sits down and gives us a success.
That clause has expired because
No. It hasn't.
It expired. It was a 10-year.
No.
It was a 10-year.
No.
It's under the sixth schedule. It's under the sixth schedule.
No.
It was for 10 years. What it provided for was that for the first 10 years of the life of the Constitution, when a president dies, right, the party that elected that president would sit and replace. But now, after 2013, 10 years have passed. Now, if a president dies, the vice president becomes acting president for 90 days and we go to an election.
No, that's not it. If that was the issue, then You would be having by-elections if a president goes. That's not the current situation. The situation, and I'm saying that's how clumsy the Constitution. I don't know what informed the drafters of the Constitution to come up with such a funny arrangement where you purport to give the people the power to directly elect a president. But if that president dies, maybe, let's say, for instance, a month after being elected, what happens? There's no by-election. There's no provision for a by-election. Go revisit the Constitution. The Constitution says the person who is supposed to replace that president is supposed to be elected by the party. The assumption is that the party was the one that was elected. Mind you, we're supposed to, after 2023, we're supposed to have now the running mate, isn't it? The running mate was supposed to be the one who takes over, isn't it?
Yes. So that is the aspect about 10 years.
The provision of the running mate is now under amendments to do away with.
It was removed. It was actually removed.
Yes. So we are stuck with a situation where your so-called right to elect a president only applies to a general election, to a harmonized election. But after the harmonized election, you no longer have that right. Yeah. If your president that you elected dies or resigns, then
you address the issue of
the assumption is that you did not elect him. You elected the party. So if it is about electing the party, why can't we just elect parties, political parties? I'm a big fan of electing political parties because it depersonalizes our politics. Because the problem with our politics currently is that it's personality driven.
But even on that aspect of the party, of people electing the party, people have ended up with individuals that they didn't elect or didn't even believe were part of the party. Let us look at the CCC, for instance.
I don't know. I'm not so well versed in what is happening in the CCC. I don't know what it is. You know, I have failed to wrap my head around what you call the CCC. So I cannot actually discuss any of the happenings there because
I'm not asking you to discuss the happenings in the CCC.
What is the CCC?
I'm asking you to discuss issues around as you have.
No, but you gave an example of the CCC, and I don't know something called the CCC because in my own definition of a political party, there is no political party called CCC. Because you are not a political party if you don't have a set of rules that govern your activities. If it is a free for all, you know, anyone can do anything, Bamba Zonge kind of thing. You can do whatever you want to do, and when someone does whatever they want to do, that's within, you know. When chaos becomes the overarching ideology of your own political grouping, then serious people cannot really be engaged in what is happening in there. And we cannot use that as an example. Look at what is happening with CCC.
But we're talking about political party. People went to an election to vote for people who were presented to them by a political party called CCC.
No, what the requirement for you to participate in an election, you just provide a logo and a name. The requirement is never you should have a political party. So I can participate in an election calling myself Chimuti or something, and that does not define me as a member of a political party. People can just meet for the purposes of participating in an election, and that does not say that the political party.
But jealous, no. If you look at the issues that are happening, right? You would realize that those who have dealt with the issue, even in the courts, have treated CCC as a political party because it has an interim secretary general who could recall on behalf of a political party. So if you tell me that it's not a political party when a whole judge sitting there said this guy is the interim secretary general and can recall, I mean, that's a political party.
But you and I know, you and I know that.
Educate me what I don't.
You and I know that we have a circus called the judiciary in this country. So when it's expedient for those that in power to say there's a party called the Triple C and the interim leader is Chabangu, they will say that. But you believe? Do you believe that? Do you believe that Chabangu is the interim secretary general of Triple C and he had powers to recall?
The acting president of the Triple C, Washington Mube, is just in an article I read over the weekend, actually said that they acknowledge that he is their interim secretary general.
They've admitted him or what?
That's what they said.
I didn't read that. They've admitted him now. So
yes.
he becomes the interim secretary general after he had recalled people.
That's
in retrospect.
So
he exercised the right to recall, knowing that maybe 6 months down the line he will be the interim secretary general. Is that what you said?
That is my reading.
So, that becomes a circus.
Or maybe he was an interim secretary general to them. They are only acknowledging. I don't know.
And all along they didn't. So you are having the president of a party, of a so-called party, and he's left maybe with 16 days. His tenure is left with 16 days.
According to the press statement that was issued by Jacob Mafume.
And 14 days before he finishes his term, he now realizes that there's an interim secretary general. All along he didn't. And you want us to take them seriously and say this is a political party. That's why I don't want to waste time.
Yeah. So my question was my question was
to talk about political parties.
My question was
talk of political parties in abstract.
My question to you was
political party.
My question to you was, you said you would be happy to have a system where we elect political parties.
Yes.
But in Zimbabwe, we have no political parties.
Yeah, we have to make it a demand.
From what you are saying,
yes.
we don't have
a political party.
So what would we be electing?
Individuals. That's why you are talking about 2030 Vamnangagwa and Ngajipo. You have never heard someone saying 2030 ZANU-PF in Ngajipo. Because for them, it's about an individual. You have heard Chamisa Chete, Ngapinde Mkomana. It's never about any political grouping. It's about individuals. And this becomes our major albatross. It's our Achilles heel. We have to create, because mind you, we want to create institutions that are functional. But in order for us to create institutions that are functional, we have to create functional and viable political parties. And these political parties are then going to give us strong governance institutions.
How do you talk about functional political parties when you were part of a political party, you failed to make it functional?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean to say if I fail, everyone else would fail. Does it mean that? I'm not the prototypical Zimbabwean. If I fail, yes, I can fail today, but I might succeed tomorrow. Or someone else might succeed. If I fail, it doesn't mean to say that everyone else would fail. I've failed a lot of times. In farming, I failed sometimes. At school, I failed sometimes. But there's a lot of people that have succeeded, passed with flying colors. My failure does not mean to say everyone else who will try to do what I did will fail. No, I'm not a god. I'm just a fallible human being who has tried many things and failed in many things. And I'm proud that I tried and failed, because at least I now have very few things to try. Because I know that when I tried, I failed, so I'm leaving it. I tried, I failed. Sometimes I say I'm wiser here. I'm trying again, and maybe I will succeed. So my failure yesterday does not mean to say I will fail tomorrow. If I want to participate in politics, I will participate in politics, and maybe there's a second time.
Someone would want to know why would you want to teach those who have had a fair amount of success in politics to do how to do politics when you have dismally failed? Where do you get?
No, but I'm not here to teach anyone. I've not opened a school. Those that wanted to teach other people about politics have opened the Chitepo School of Ideology. I haven't opened the Mawairire School of Ideology. I've offered my views to the people. Not saying that my views are the biblical truth, but I've actually subjected my thoughts to public scrutiny because I believe that we only grow if we interrogate each other's ideas, if we share what we think. And if I share what I think and people say, you are wrong there, I learn from that and I grow. But I cannot hold on to my views and believe in my closet that what I have is the best for the country. And I don't subject my thoughts to the general public to interrogate those thoughts. I'm free to say whatever I think, because I'm free also to receive feedback in terms of criticism, in terms of ridicule, in terms of support from the people. I've been ridiculed a lot of times. Do I care? No. I've been criticized a lot of times. Do I care? Yes, I care, because I look at positive criticism, I look at negative criticism. What do I get from this negative criticism? What do I get from this positive criticism? Where do I improve? That's how I've been able to live. I don't shy away from putting my ideas on the table and say, this is what I believe in. And for instance, I strongly believe that in order for us to build a strong democratic nation, we have to look at key fundamentals. What are the things that we need to do? We have to build strong institutions called political parties. And these strong institutions called political parties are supposed to participate in free, fair, and fair elections. And those free and fair elections are supposed to be defined or are supposed to be attained through a conducive electoral system that enables our people to participate. Some people have argued. Some people have argued. That's what I believe in.
Some people have argued that political parties should be registered. What is your view on that aspect? In view of your thinking,
what's the purpose? For me, what's the purpose for registration? I don't believe in putting conditions, a lot of conditions. But I believe that there should be normative standards that our people, without involving some legal arms, that our people, the electorate as our people, they say these are the standards that we expect from a political grouping. Because ultimately, the people that judge are those that participate in elections. So they are the ones that will set the parameters. They will say, for us, a viable political grouping will be like this. We have a constitution. We have a national executive. We have a president. We have a vice president. We have a whole list of
is this not judgment? Is this not judgment delivered at polls? You know, where people go and elect and say, we want to associate with this political party. We are going to
yes, that's what I'm saying.
And people elected the Triple C, which is a political party.
Why I'm saying.
So how do you differentiate this?
No, that's why at the beginning of this show I said our people have to put a premium on their vote. To say this is what we expect from a leader. This is what we expect from a political party that is supposed to take over governance of our country. We expect clearly defined policies. And those policies also include how you are going to deal with your own internal administration, which means you are supposed to have a set of guiding rules. If you want to call that set of guiding rules a constitution, you are free to call that. But there should be at least some guiding principles. The political party is supposed to function like this, like this, like this. Then, most importantly, you should have a list of the things that you want to achieve, your policies. What do you want to do in education? What do you want to do in the banking sector? What do you want to do in agriculture? What do you want to do in mining? And those are supposed to be made known to the people, not to talk about strategic ambiguity. We are not telling you what we are going to do. You will just see it when you elect us. No. We want our people to put a premium to their vote and to make demands on political groupings or even independent candidates to say this is what we expect from those that are supposed to represent us.
Let me tell you.
That can only be attained if our people can freely participate in the electoral processes, which then takes us to, is the environment conducive for that free expression?
You've emphasized on that, but let me take you for a moment as we are about to wrap up to discuss about the economy, the ZIG. What is your view around that?
My view is that you cannot introduce or purport to be introducing a stable currency in an unstable political environment. First things first, because the people who are supposed to have a buy-in, to have confidence in currency, are supposed to have, in the first place, confidence in the government that is bringing the currency.
And you think they don't?
They don't. The people don't have. How do you have? Because if the people had confidence, you wouldn't be seeing you wouldn't be seeing the RBZ now resorting to arresting people and dragging people around and say you should be using this currency. You were with a US dollar. Why are you having US dollars? Meanwhile, your president is counting those US dollars and giving someone you know, you can't be having a country like that. So as long as we don't have a buy-in from our people on the governance side, we cannot move economically. We can't.
I sit from a place where I listen to the finance minister, Tuli Ngule, saying that our GDP has grown from 20 billion to 50 billion. I sit from a corner where I hear my Minister of Finance speaking on Newsroom Africa, saying that we're some of the richest people in Africa because our cars are not on credit, our houses are fully paid, and you're telling me that this is not the right time to introduce a local currency because we are unstable?
I'm not an economist, but I'm a social scientist. I've also read around in social sciences what a GDP is. For me, a GDP does not measure how far we would have gone as a country, because by definition, the definition that I subscribe to, which is a political science definition of a GDP, the GDP is the rate at which resources are turned into garbage. That's the GDP for me. So you cannot use that. You cannot measure the rate at which you are turning your resources into garbage and say, okay, the rate is so high, so we have attained so much. I look at the standard of living of our people. Can our people afford basic 3 meals a day? They can't. Do we have electricity running throughout the day? No. Do we have running water within the cities? No. Do we have electricity for the industries? No. Do we even have a buy-in of our people on this recently introduced currency? No. That's the reason why they're arresting people. You cannot force buy-in through arrests. No. Currencies rely on confidence, and you don't build confidence by intimidating people, by arresting people. No, that's not. So we have to sort out the politics.
Sometimes people don't know what they want, and they have to be taught, and they have to be forced. Is that not?
No. People know what they want. Don't you know what you want? You want a stable currency? We want it. We all want it. And that's the reason why people want the US dollar. Because it's stable. It retains value. If I buy this phone for $1,000, I know I can retain value. But if you buy a goat for 45 zig, do you mean to say next year you can sell it for 45 zig? It's impossible. Even now, look at it now. When they announced it, it was 13.5 to US dollar, isn't it? You go to shops. 1:18. This is less than a month. And you want me to store value in such a currency? No. People are not stupid. People know what they want. Those that are doing business know the importance of storing value in assets, storing value in a currency. For instance, you were saying, the finance minister was saying that a lot of people are building houses for cash and what? Because people can only build houses in order to retain value for their money. Unema ziga 20 million. You can't maybe possibly convert them to US dollar. What can you do? You buy bricks, you buy cement, and you build. You store value. But we actually have even a problem in Zimbabwe. It's a major problem that we have a lot of houses paid for, representing what we call dead capital. It's dead capital because there is no functional bank where you can have equity release. You cannot use your house to go and access a loan because the banking sector is non-existent. We should be talking about that.
Do you think the finance minister doesn't know this?
I don't know. He's a professor in economics. I don't know. But I don't understand what he was saying. Can he be proud about us building houses that we cannot exchange for capital when there is need for us to invest in something? Because that's the situation that we find ourselves in. I have a house right now, fully paid for. I have a title deed. But I cannot go with the title deed to any bank and say, can you give me 200,000? I want to do this. I want to invest in my trucking business. There's no such provision in this economy because this is a cartel economy. A cartel, just like what Rhodesia was, this is what the Second Republic is. It's a cartel arrangement. Those that are within are the ones that are benefiting. Those that are without, they don't benefit anything. We are stuck with our houses. We are stuck with our fully paid for cars. And meanwhile, we can't even afford a decent meal. In those fully paid for houses, we are 300,000. You don't have $100 in your pocket. Is that's what we want? No. We want a functional economy, an economy that is open for everyone to participate in. We want the banking sector to be working. We want us to be in a situation where we can turn that dead million. By projection, Harare alone has around 200 million worth of houses fully paid for. And this is dead capital. 200 million raswa, which can be used in any form of economic activity. Because there is no banking sector that can facilitate equity release. Hakuna mabenga acho. So those are the things that my Professor Acho, we expect them to be talking about, to be working towards creating an environment where this economy facilitates house owners to go to the bank and take loans against their houses and start viable economic projects in order to build this country. But it's not happening. But meanwhile, you have a whole finance minister who is celebrating that they can't use. At zina value, they have zina nominal value, intrinsic value. But it's value that is not converted. We don't only have houses, we have the land in Zimbabwe, which is reposed in the president. As all land is under the custody of the president. And you make that land useless, economically useless. When we took over the land through the fast track land redistribution, we withdrew 7 billion from the economy, from the land market. And there's no land market. You cannot go to the bank and say, I have a farm. Can I borrow 200,000 so that I buy inputs and I grow that, I grow that, I grow that? There's no such facility because the land is useless. So we are a country that prides ourselves in holding on to things that are useless. We have to be serious. We have to make sure that we give title deeds to those that have land. Even in the rural areas, we pay title deeds and make them free. Once our people in the rural areas are given title deeds, they are free. The difference between a Zimbabwean in the urban area and a Zimbabwean in the rural area is that most of the people that are in the urban areas are living on pieces of land where they have title. So they are not afraid of voting against the government because tomorrow they might be chased away from where they stay. Let's afford that right to our people in the rural areas. Let them have title over their land. And if they suddenly wake up tomorrow and say, we no longer want ZANU-PF, that should not affect their pieces of land. And for me, that's the major reason why I advocate for the people in the rural areas to have title deeds. Because for me, freedom means that I reside in a place that is mine. I own the means of production, which is this land that I have. And I have the right to include others in this piece of land, and I also have rights to exclude others. And that right to include others and that right to exclude others is the right that title deeds give on people. It also gives us the right for continual use of the same piece of land. If you don't have that, hakuna munhu ano-investor on a piece of land where you know tomorrow I might be chucked off. I'm a new farmer. I'm doing farming, somewhere. I do cabbages. Sometimes I fail. Sometimes I get it right. I understand the kind of investment that is needed. And you need some sort of security that I can be here for the next 20 years. I can be here for the next 10 years. And even if I'm not here physically, but my children will be here. So I'm not afraid of investing. And ichika kusima muti, a citrus tree that will start giving me fruits in 8 years and will continue giving me fruits for the next 60 years. Because maybe after 5 years, before I even get to a first harvest, I'm chucked off. Or the political party that I supported is no longer in power, so tunogona kudzingwa. You cannot run a country like that.
We are running out of time, but what we also want to proffer solutions. What do you think is for Zimbabwe going forward as we inch towards 2028? How do we make our country a better country that can compete the family of nations and also make sure that the lives of its people are better? I mean, the Zim stats show that most of our kith and kin in this country are living in their numbers. Some to do very, very embarrassing jobs out there, but so that they can make better, lives for their children. Some have been working, families have been separated. The wife is in Zimbabwe taking care of the kids and trying to send them to school, while the husband is in South Africa, in the streets, they're sending money back home so that they can just give their children a bit of some decent education and decent shelter above their head and feed their tummies.
I hope you have made this known to the Minister of Finance that there are folks who are running away from paid for houses and fully paid for cars.
Yeah. Surely most of those mansions, the people who own them don't stay in
Don't stay. They have left, isn't it? So it's an indication that what he is gloating about is actually something that is not helping us. It's not helping the owners. What we need to do, and which I think is the import of your question, what we need to do is to guarantee freedoms. If we guarantee freedoms, we allow our people to freely think, to freely define their problem. Because for me, there lies the most fundamental thing in problem definition. If people are allowed to say, yesterday I was listening to the news and I heard that Zach was saying this country loses 2 billion.
1.8 billion.
Yes. They were saying 2 billion to corruption.
That's a lot of
money. And who is taking that 2 billion? We need to freely discuss and to point out, to say, Iwe and you go by you. And you are the one stealing. You are the one who has turned the whole country into a cartel, into a secret society which only benefits those that are inside. What do we do with you? And these are the questions that we are supposed to be freely engaged in. Do we impeach you if you are the president? If that individual is a political party, is a legal persona, do we vote you out? And we should be free. We should be free to engage in those discussions. To say, well, you are saying we are fixing roads, but at what cost? We know the standard rate is $1 million per kilometer, but we know you are charging $3 million. And the contractors are saying that. Saying there's some force there. You have to charge $3 million in order for us to give you the tender. But we will come and take the $2 million because we know you can do this with $1 million and still make profit. And suddenly every road. That's why Chungona Marwa, 3 million Yajabuda, Pamarwa Pasiwa, 3 million Yajabuda, because there's someone who is looking at 2 million Yake, Ipapu. 2 million per that kilometer, 2 million. So Mukawana a whole lot. My roads are maranzuro, and it's 2 million per every kilometer. I some. Meanwhile, now the task is now on the contractor. Chigazir, but in any angle daita, you can't be running a country like that. We want things to be transparent.
I found it so disconcerting for me. Julius Nyerere was a solid road, and
Second Street has been closed, but section H closed is just 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers. 1 month, I'm Sadimaita. What is it? But meanwhile, someone has already pocketed his 2 million. We don't want to be running a country tirimbava. Let's learn from even what the president of El Salvador has done. If the president is not involved in the looting, he should be there to say, I am a president who is not stealing, and I don't want my legacy murdered by people that are stealing around me. And you know what the El Salvador Prime Minister has done? He called a cabinet, called in the prosecutor general and said, you are not a member of the executive, but investigate all of us, starting from here. Anyone, either any shady deals, Sungai. That's what we need. We need transparency. Yes, the roads are being fixed. At what cost? Is that difficult to do? Because I believe those are the requirements. Paneshwa Matenda, isn't it? Those that win Matendas are Vakaita outline. We are going to do this and this and this and this at this cost. Why don't you publish that information so that you generate confidence in some of us who are gifted with wanting to know. Could it cost? Because I think of my satire, Baba. To know at what cost to the country, to the taxpayer. And you can do that if you are transparent. But if you are taking 2 million, you make sure that it is as public. It's never publicized. So we need to create a conducive environment where our people are free to participate in politics, free to participate in their economy, and also free to question the actions of those that are in power. Because at the end of the day, they are public servants. They are our servants. We should not be afraid to question what our servants are doing. The power is reposed in us as the people, and we therefore have the right to question what they are doing. Mm-hmm. And we have to know. When we are doing Masvingo, Bedbridge Road, Harare Bedbridge Road, how many kilometers are there? How much did you use? Give us per kilometer. Give us the BOQ. Not what is really subject to speculation. No. But if there are shady deals, if there are clandestine things happening, they would want it not to be known. If you begin to make those demands, what are an enemy of the state?
I want to thank you very much, Jealous Mawarire, for having this conversation with me on this, the Free Talk, proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom. But before you leave, Jealous, I'll just give you an opportunity to look the people of Zimbabwe and just, maybe from your heart, share something that maybe I didn't ask, or something that you feel strongly about that you would want the people of Zimbabwe to take away from this conversation.
I would like our people to know that they are the ones that have power. They are the ones that should put a premium on their vote. They are the ones who know what's supposed to be done. And they are supposed to participate, they are supposed to question, they are supposed to interrogate, and they are supposed to actually call to order those that are misbehaving with our finances, in our economy, with our freedoms. And we should be doing that freely, without any fear. In any case, the only sad thing that they can visit unto people like us is death. But anyway, we will all die. We won't be here in the next 100 years. Maybe it's given in the next 100 years, we won't be here. We would have died. So we don't fear death. People should not fear death. People should be prepared even to pay the ultimate price for what is good for us and for our children. Some people did that for us. We should also do that for us. This country, like what Comrade Tongogara said, Zimbabwe does not belong to us. It belongs to the future generations, and we should leave it a better country for them. Thank you.
Amazing. Now, someone once said, where there's freedom of expression, where there's democracy, there can be a drought, but never a famine. Where people have access to information and where people can freely and openly exchange ideas, we always build better. We can correct each other and make this country a better place. Now, money is a function of confidence. Politics is a function of support. Unmolested support, unforced. It is a social contract that where people vote for you and place you in a position of authority, it is easy for them to listen to what you ask them to do in moving the country forward. If you put yourself there and you ask them to follow you, they will watch you while you walk alone. Now, Zimbabwean, we need to build this country together. We need to have a function of confidence. We need to have a social contract with our leaders and build our nation. Now, this is the Free Talk in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for freedom. And I, as usual, your host, Dara B, always asking you to be the good citizen that you should be. Demand accountability, speak out for your rights, and ensure that this nation becomes a great nation that it should be. Until next time, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tanwang.
Thank you, Baba.
Beautiful. This was the Free Talk with Jealous Mawarire. Join us next time. Please don't forget to subscribe and like on our YouTube channel so that we continue to bring you the best of content and answer your questions. So what?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tatenda.